Hello and welcome to the Faded Wildflower Crochet. My name is Rachel, and I thought today I would film another little cozy crochet and chat where I crochet and talk about whatever's been on my mind. So for today, what has been on my mind lately is hyperfixations. I just want to put out a little disclaimer to say that I know that hyperfixations is often associated with people who are neurodivergent in some way, like people who are autistic or have ADHD. And I have never been treated for anything other than anxiety and depression. So if I say something that is just completely wrong, feel free to correct me. I'm always willing to learn more about this stuff. I really don't know a lot about the science behind all of these things. I'm not an expert. I am just a lady crocheting on the internet. um, so in this video, I'm just really speaking from personal experience and the ways that I have experienced hyperfixations in my life. So take everything I have to say, with a grain of salt. But like I said, if I say something just completely off, then feel free to let me know kindly in the comments below. So by the way, I am working on a blanket today for my newest niece slash nephew who's coming in September. I have made a blanket for each and every one of my nieces and nephews. This will be my 6th one. So that is what I'm working on today. And I am loving this yarn so far. It is mandala. I'll maybe insert a clip of it, but it is on the floor right now. It is yarn that I found. If you watched my video where I reviewed the Walmart yarn, I also found this yarn that day, and I had never seen the mandala, like whatever it's called, the extra large size or whatever it is. I had never seen this exact yarn before, but I thought it was really beautiful. It's just this nice like ombre fading type yarn. So anyways, that is what I am working on today. And I thought I would talk a little bit about hyperfixations and kind of the good and the bad, and maybe the ways that you could turn a hyperfixation into sort of a lifelong love or a lifelong skill, a lifelong hobby, whatever you want to call it. So hyperfixations was not something that I really knew anything about when I was growing up. It was just not a term that I had heard. I really only heard what a hyperfixation was a few years ago. And as soon as I heard it, it was one of those things that just clicked. I was like, oh, yeah, I do that. And I've done that pretty much my whole life. The first one that I can really think of that I can remember, I was about 7 years old. And I got really hyperfixated on learning all of the different dog breeds that there were in the world. I wanted to know everything about it. My parents bought me this really thick book of every single dog breed in the whole world and what they did and like what they were bred for. And I was obsessed with learning about dog breeds. And so really I've been doing that ever since. And for me, hyperfixations kind of come and go, and I never really know what the next one is going to be. But I really think that hyperfixations to me is kind of similar to the way that I experience anyway, is similar to the feeling of like falling in love. It's really that like happy, good feeling that you get, like similar to when you first fall in love with somebody, where you're like, oh my gosh, I think about this all the time. It's all I want to do. So it gives you those like happy, good chemicals. I'm not sure if dopamine, again, I don't know a lot about the science behind it, but it might be dopamine or whatever it is that your brain is kind of lacking. So it clings on to this, whatever it is that is making it have that happy chemical. So, like I said, for me, I've had several throughout my life, and they come and go. And so it can be such an exciting thing. It can make life feel a little bit more exciting when you have something to look forward to, when you have something that's making your brain light up, And also another good thing about hyperfixations is that you can learn all about something that you may not have known before. So let's take plants, for example. So a few hyperfixations ago, I got really, really obsessed with plants, houseplants in particular. I wanted to know all about houseplants. I watched all of the videos. I learned everything that I could about the different kinds of houseplants and the light they needed and how much water they needed and all of the things, how to treat for bugs, how to avoid root rot, like all of the things that you need to know about houseplants, I learned during the time where I was hyperfixated on them. And now, a couple years later, I'm not as hyperfixated on plants, but now I have all of that knowledge. I still know how to take care of the plants that I still have, even though I'm not going out and buying a new plant every weekend, which I was when I was really obsessed. I still know how to take care of the plants that I have in my collection. I know how to, like, there's a lot of people in my family who also like plants, so I can connect with them over that knowledge. And so honestly, even though it's something that I'm not as obsessed with now, I'm happy that I spent the time that I did to learn this skill essentially, because now I still have that knowledge. So I think that that's another like really good thing about hyperfixations, but there are some downsides, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about the kind of bad part of hyperfixations. And for me, like I said, they kind of come and go. And the thing about that is that I never really know when one obsession is going to end, when one is going to begin. And it kind of feels daunting almost that like the thing that I'm obsessed with right now could go away at any time. And I don't really know what my brain is going to focus on next. And so it can feel sort of uneasy. Like it gives me an uneasy feeling sometimes when I think about it. So that's kind of the downside. Sorry, that yarn got kind of tangled up. Anyways, I have been criticized in my life about, being too obsessed with something and then just quitting it when I'm done. And, a lot of people can look down on this. People that don't experience hyperfixations, they can be like, oh, well, you're just a quitter. You just quit things when they get hard. And what people don't understand is that it's not necessarily that I want to quit. It's just that my brain no longer cares about that thing, right? Like, I'm not wanting to be a quitter. I don't want to stop being in love with that thing, but my brain just doesn't want to focus on it anymore. But that kind of leads to the main topic of today's video of turning your hyperfixation into something that is a lifelong skill. So, as you can imagine, crocheting for me was a hyperfixation years ago. I got really, really obsessed. I wanted to learn everything. I have told this story before, but I sat down during a snowstorm and taught myself how to crochet with a library book. And from there on in, I was so obsessed. I wanted to do everything. I made blankets, I made scarves, I made washcloths. And then, of course, I learned how to make amigurumi, and that's the main thing that I make now. But for a while, it was a hyperfixation. But as you can imagine, that was 14 years ago. So it is no longer a hyperfixation. It is now a part of my life. And so I kind of wanted to talk about what that has been like for me and how I've managed that, and just kind of give maybe some tips or advice on how you could do that too. I never like to be too like preachy or like, you need to do this, you need to do that. But, I want to be helpful, and I want to just pass on knowledge that has helped me. So with crocheting, if you are at this point in your journey where maybe you learned a few years ago or a few months ago and you felt really, really hyperfixated at first, but now it's starting to wane, just know that it is absolutely okay and acceptable for you to take a break. If your brain is telling you to take a break, then take a break. And there's nothing wrong with that. You can always come back to it. You can always pick it up again. But if you are wanting to take a break, there's no shame in that. So that's my first tip. Just take a break when you need to. And my second tip is switch up what you are doing. So let's just say that maybe you have been doing something that's like really big projects. Like let's say you've been working on blankets for a while. Maybe you need to switch to something smaller, like amigurumi that you can finish in a day. And that would kind of give your brain a boost, like, oh, I can finish this quickly. So maybe if you've been working on long projects, switch to a smaller project, or maybe if you've been working on really, really detailed work, switch to something that's like a little bit more mindless. So like maybe you've been working on amigurumi and you've been working on these really detailed characters or something that you can finish quickly, but it's a lot of like tedious work. Maybe you need to switch from that to doing something a little bit more mindless, like a blanket, where you're doing the same stitch over and over again. So there really are so many possibilities with crocheting. So if you're at that point where you're finding that your brain is maybe not as obsessed as it once was, but you still want to keep going, just maybe try switching to a different type of crocheting. So my third thing that I found that is probably the most helpful for me when it comes to hyperfixations and crocheting is make it a part of your routine. So if you want to use the analogy once again of like falling in love and those like happy chemicals you get at the beginning of falling in love with someone, I have been with my husband now we've been together for 15 years. We've been married for almost 13. So, we've been together for a long time. And I remember at the beginning of our relationship, of course, I felt all of those feelings of like, oh, I want to be together all the time. And I want to just constantly be with him. And, that whole like can't eat, can't sleep. Of course, we had that kind of experience in the beginning, but as you are with somebody for a longer period of time, that turns into settling into a routine where, now we have two kids and our own schedules and everything. And so we have to schedule a date night once a week to keep connected to each other. And so maybe the same can be true of you with your crocheting. Set some sort of routine, like let's say maybe you every evening or even just once a week, let's say once a week, you make a little date for yourself where you turn on your favorite show, you have like your favorite beverage, and you get out your crocheting. It can kind of help your brain settle into a routine, like a positive, healthy routine, and that way it can become more of a lasting thing than, just something that you obsessively want to do constantly, all the time. And it's all you think about. Settling into routine, it really is kind of also a mindset shift when it comes to that you can say, oh my gosh, my brain doesn't want to do this thing anymore, so I'm not going to. And, you can kind of feel guilty about that because maybe you spent a lot of money. That's another thing about hyperfixations is that you can end up spending a lot of money on something. You can end up spending money because it's what you want to do. And then later on, you realize, oh, like, I don't really care about this as much anymore. And you can feel like you wasted your money. And so I understand that sort of like guilt, and maybe your brain is like punishing you for it a little bit and you feel really guilty and you feel like a failure, but just know that you're not a failure. You can kind of do these things to help your brain realize that, hey, we don't feel the same way about this thing anymore, but we still care about it and we still want to do it. And also, you have to know that maybe crocheting is not a lifelong thing for you, and that's also okay. Maybe you're watching this video and you're like, I really want crocheting to be a lifelong thing for me, but it's just not, and I feel really bad for that. There's nothing wrong with having something be a hyperfixation for a little while and for it not to turn into a lifelong skill. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And there's been so many things in my life that, like I said, I have fallen in love with for a short period of time. And don't really do anymore. Like I used to do art journaling and I was super obsessed with it. I loved art journaling and now I don't do that anymore. And I don't see myself picking that up anytime soon, but maybe I will. Who knows? And I don't regret the time that I spent learning how to art journal because it was really fun and it was really satisfying at the time. And even though it's not a lifelong hobby or skill, there's nothing wrong with that. So, just give yourself a little bit of grace, a little bit of empathy for yourself, and, you know, try out these tips and, try setting a routine, try, trying different projects and all of that. But if it ends up not being something that you want to do forever, then that's also okay. So, I just really want to be an encouraging voice for you and your crochet journey. I love crocheting and I don't ever see myself stopping. It's something that I'm going to do for the rest of my life, I'm assuming, but that's not the case for everyone. And for me, now crocheting is such a part of my life that I also have other hobbies. Like I said, I also have other obsessions that come along, like plants. And now for me, my current love is making YouTube videos and learning how to be a content creator. So, you know, there can be so many different hobbies that you can do alongside of crocheting. If crocheting is no longer your hyperfixation, it can become a part of your everyday life, and you can have other hobbies too, and that's also okay and healthy and a thing that can bring a lot of joy to your life. So, anyways, that is all I really wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to share my thoughts. Have you ever hyperfixated on crocheting? Do you experience hyperfixations for other things? What is that like for you? Have you ever kind of felt the way that I do, where sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if this is going to last and what's going to happen next? And, are you just along for the ride like I am? It's something that I've just had to learn over time, that this is just a fact of the matter. This is something my brain does, and I have to accept myself for that. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful in some way or that you could relate. And if you did like this video, be sure to hit the like button. You can subscribe and stick around. Let me know what other kind of videos you want to see next. You can follow me on all my social medias. It's the Faded Wildflower everywhere. And thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.